This tutorial here is going to teach you how to make a chess set using Autodesk Inventor. First of all, you would go to the internet and you would find an image of a chess set that you like. I found an image here, this black one, can't quite see the image behind the pieces, and then we're going to use the image to make some basic chess pieces. Okay, so let's start from scratch. File, new, and standard millimeter part. And now I'm going to start a sketch on the side, maybe, would be good. On the right hand side, right there. And now I'm going to import that image of a chess set that I found. And it comes in sideways, no big deal. We can rotate the object around any center point that we like. And I'm going to rotate it 270 degrees, pops that down right where I want it. Perfect. Finish the sketch. That's sketch number 1 is done. It's just going to be that image. Now I'm going to start another sketch on the same plane, and I'm going to create a bottom line along the bottom that is common to all the pieces, because the image is not perfect here, but it's very close. And the reason you would want this is, let's make sure that it's flat. I'm going to do it one more time. Make sure that it's flat along the bottom. It says 90 degrees there for the angle, so I know it's along the bottom. I also see this little icon here which confirms it. And now I am ready to make a midline for the pawn that we're going to revolve around. So go to the top dead center and meet with the line at the bottom and make sure it's at 90 degrees to that line at the bottom. And now I'm going to do what's called an interpolation spline, and it's going to do the contours of the pawn. Don't worry about being perfect on the first go. The line sometimes looks a little weird as you're placing points down, but then it kind of corrects itself as you go. And so you can always fix them up later. So don't think too hard about it at this point. And then green light there, close it off, check mark. One thing is I don't want it to be pointy at the top, so I'm going to make this perpendicular to that, so make it nice and smooth around at the top. Some points here to match my image a little better. Looking pretty good. Okay, I'm happy with that for now. I could always come back and change it later if I wanted to. So I'm going to finish sketch. And now there's a tool called Revolve, which will take any closed shape and revolve it around any axis. It's ready to accept the axis already. And okay. So there is my little pawn. I can turn it, it's solid body number 1. I can turn it off for visibility and see my image again, or I can turn it back on. And that's my pawn, done. Now I'm going to move on to the rook. And so we'll start another sketch. This time it's on the same plane. They're not showing up, so I can expand the origin. And so yeah, it's the YZ plane in this case. And so once again, I'm going to do a straight line, top dead center. That midline that I made is not here, so I'm going to try a different strategy. I'm not going to do a different sketch. I'm going to delete sketch 3. I really want that common line to be there for all pieces, so I'm going to go into the same sketch, and I'm just going to keep making more pieces for the same sketch. No big deal. Okay, so that's at 90 degrees to the bottom line, and we're going to need another 90 degree right there. It's a little tilted, but I want the flat top. So there's my 90 degrees. I think I see another couple of straight lines that I want from my rook. He's kind of a blocky kind of guy. So there's some straight lines there, and then from here I'm going to go back to my spline, interpolation. I've got some details here that I kind of want. Get a little bump going there. And then keep tracing. The line kind of gets better as you go. And then I want it to meet that baseline and click OK. All right, oh, that's interestingly curved. So if I move my points around, is that going to help me? Now let's make this one perpendicular to that one. So I'm going to try. I'm going to make another line. Let's keep going with some lines here, and then maybe from there. Splines are a little tricky, and this one cannot connect. Green dot. Okay, green dot, we got it connected. Okay, try that again. Spline. Okay, a little bump. Those little details will show up when you revolve it. And then I wonder if I can just close off there. And hit the OK. Alright, that's reasonably good. We've got a funny little curve here. There's also something you can do to turn on some more control. There's a handle that you can turn on, and you can kind of twist it to do your bidding. And so I like that better. So I'm going to finish sketch there. Revolve. Sketch 2 is hidden at the moment, so I'm going to turn it on. Revolve that shape around that axis. And there's my basics of a rook. Okay, and you can make it kind of fancier. I notice in the image, in fact, I'm going to do one more thing here, because sometimes you might want to print these separately. I'm going to make it a new solid instead of joining the other solid. So now I have two solid bodies. One is the rook, one is the pawn. And if I turn off solid 2 for a second, there was kind of some cool divots in the top part that I actually want to recreate. So I am going to turn that back on. And now we need to do a sketch, but I can actually do it right on that top flat plane that I made. And I'm going to make it kind of in a simple way. I'm just going to make a little circle like that. And that's all I need to finish the sketch. Let's go over to the other corner so I can see it. And now I'm going to extrude that circle, but not as an additive feature. It's going to be a cut through. And so it kind of cuts right through just that top bit, and it kind of misses the main body, which is good. So I'm actually happy with that. And we now have a little divot feature. And we can create a circular pattern that will go around the object as many times as we want. So this is a circular pattern, and I can just say do if the feature of this around the rotation axis. I actually think I need to do a new axis for rotation. I'll show you how to create an axis. It's right here. Create a work axis. See if I can get that point right there, and then if I kind of go upwards from there, it creates an axis for me to revolve around. So I need that as a revolve, as a circular axis point. So this is the feature, the axis. I just made it, it's right there, and the default is 6 times around. I feel like doing 8 because the rook can move 8 in a row. That looks good to me. Okay, so it's a nice, easy to feature on my rook. I'm happy with that. Let's do the rest of the horsey on top of the base here. For this, I'm going to start a new sketch on the same plane. This time I am going to start just inside the base. That way it's when I connect them later, they are going to merge into one solid object. And as we go quickly around, get the detail of the mouth. And the back of the mane. Just want it to go into the base there. Okay, that might look cool. All right, I'm going to finish that sketch. I could, of course, go back and fix it later if I didn't like it. I'm just going to simply extrude that shape. And it doesn't know which object it should be a part of. So it wasn't going to let me do it until I told it to be a new solid. And now right now it's extruding only one direction, which is kind of lopsided in terms of the rest of the pieces. So I can tell it to be symmetrical, so that's nice. I feel like 10 is too much, so maybe 6. Let's see how that looks. I like that. It's kind of neat. Okay, now that I think about that, wouldn't 3D print very well, so I'm going to go back in and I'm going to adjust it. I don't want to need support here or anything like that, so I'm just going to modify it so it's a more gradual step, and that will adjust automatically. Okay, and that is Horsey is solid 4. I'm going to make him invisible for a second because I want to give him an eyeball. So I'm going to go into sketch 6 and I'm going to, I could get more elaborate with it I'm sure, but I'm just going to make a little circle for now and finish the sketch. And now I can actually go back into, let's turn on Horsey. But when I do that extrusion, I can actually choose to hold down Shift and get rid of the eyeball. Holding down Shift, clicking on the circle, it gets rid of it. And so now he's got a bit more character. Okay, all right, I'm done with the Horsey. Let's move on to the bishop. If I want it to be on a constant line along the bottom, I've got to go back into sketch 2. I'm going to do the midline on the way down, make sure it's perpendicular. And now I'm going to trace the right-hand side because that seems to be where more of this object is. And there we go. And down to the baseline. Okay, all right, finish that sketch and revolve that shape around its axis. Very good. Now I do want to create that hole feature it has, so I'm going to, I can also change the view. That's another thing you can do, change your visual style to have a wireframe only, so that way I can actually see the image in the back. And so I'm going to create a new sketch. Let's go back to 3D model, start a new sketch, same plane we've been doing. And now I'm going to make a spline to represent this divot that is kind of removed from the object. I'm going to click one more up there maybe, just see how that comes out. Okay, I can adjust my points to match the cutout that I want. That actually fits pretty good. It doesn't matter what that top part looks like. It's not going to matter. Oh, but I want it to also include that part. Since it's on a separate sketch, it doesn't grab onto those points. I think that's good enough. I could leave a little bit extra at the top there. Finish the sketch. All right, so now I'm going to extrude my new shape here. This time it's going to be a cut, though. I do want to see, before I do that, I want to see my realistic looking object. Okay, good thing I did that. Okay, missing a little piece there. Now I want to extrude this shape as a cut, and I want it to go just through everything. And it's not letting me do that because it doesn't know which solid. I've got a bunch of solids here that I've created, so it's not sure which one to cut through. So what I can do then instead is create a new solid, make sure it's going in both directions, and instead of through, let's just make sure the distance is enough. There we go, we got plenty of distance right there. The through probably would have worked, But I just say OK. So now I have this extra object that I can use to do a Boolean combine function. So if I press combine, the main body is the bishop, the tool body is this piece, and I want it as a cut. And I don't want to keep the tool body, so we're good to go. And there's that little piece taken out of the bishop to make it extra cool. All right, moving on to the queen. If I want the same baseline, I have to go back into Sketch 2, create my midline. That one, perpendicular, get my spline going. Don't want it to overlap with the other one. All right, very quickly. All right, I want to get this part right. Alright, so that's going to leave a little lip. And I'm going to try to make those pointy bits there. And OK to that. And I want to make a constraint of perpendicular for this. That line makes it nice round top. Good enough for me. And revolve once again. Shape and axis. And there she is. Okay, but I want to have those pointy features like we see in the picture. So there's probably a number of ways to do this, but first of all, I want to create a sketch on a plane just above this. So I'm going to show you how to make a new plane. This is a work plane that is offset from not our usual one. It's going to be at 90 degrees to it. It's going to be this one. Okay, oh, we lost it. Click home anytime you get lost, and then we can pull that up, and it's just got to be anything higher than the ridge of the queen there. So this is fine right here. And now I can start a sketch on that one. And I sort of want pointy bits. So I think, let's see, as long as it's bigger, it doesn't matter how big it is, because we're just going to cut into something like that. Let me make another dot here. Oh, I like that better. Okay. Center that so those 2 points line up. We can kind of make these ones a little bit more symmetrical. Okay, I'm good with that for now. Let's see what we can do with that. Go to the top view. There it is. Now I'm going to extrude that shape, kind of like we did with the Rook. We'll tell it to be a new object again, and we'll tell it to go backwards. If we tell it to do a cut, will it know? It doesn't know which one. So we just need to make a new object. And it's going way too far right now. So I just want that lip right there. Okay. So I feel like I've gone too far into it as well. So I'm going to say OK to that for now. But I'm going to go back into the sketch that made it. Extrusion 4 is what I just did. If I expand it, I see sketch 8. I don't like how deep I went into the object, so I'm going to take it back there. And that automatically will update the piece that I just made. There we go. That's kind of looking more like what I was thinking. And now I can do another combine where this is the base body and this is the tool body, and it's going to be a cut. And okay. Oh, it's thinking. There we go. So now we got kind of a little cut through, and I can do this circular feature again. I need an axis once more that comes out of the top of the queen. So if I click there, and I kind of go up from there, it's going to make an axis for me, and so that I can rotate around that. And now I'm going to do the circular repeating pattern, take that feature and rotate it about, make sure I get the right one, about that axis. And how many times do I want? 6 or 8? Ooh, 8 leaves it pointy, I like that. Okay, so you can try different combinations and different shapes, and get exactly what you like to make a really cool queen. Let's turn it sideways, have a look at her. Oh yeah, that's an excellent crown. Happy with that. Okay, last onto the king. Let's go back into Sketch 2. So we have that common baseline once again. This time, since that cross seems kind of flat, I'm going to do a flat extrusion with that rather than the revolve. So let's get that down to the base axis there and get my spline. There we go. Always get your details fixed up later. And let's see, this is rounded off there. And now I do want to make it perpendicular again to the top. Okay, so that's good. And now I can revolve one last time. The profile is there, the axis is right there, and we have most of our king ready to go. And we have 9 solids, that's good. And now I'm going to start a brand new sketch for that flat cross. It's on the same axis. And I'm going to just use lines for this one. Let's make it a bit more blocky. As long as I go into the sort of gray area here, that's going to give me something to grab onto. And this feels like it should be pretty kind of angular. Computer is thinking hard. Okay, we're back. Now, if you want this to be symmetrical, which I do, I'm only going to do 1/2 of it, and I'm going to show you how to mirror the other half. Okay. So, jumping around a lot here. There, and then now, maybe the top is an arc. That, and now I need a midline just to mirror it from. It's not good for anything else really. Make sure it's 180 degrees though, or 180. Okay, it doesn't even need to connect to anything. I just need to mirror, select all this stuff. Oh, we're missing a piece. Tell you what, I do want that to connect to the bottom. So I'm going to go all the way through, making sure it's 180 degrees. And now I'm going to make a line from the one that I did earlier, which snaps on there. Just make sure it goes through those. And I'm going to change my view to wireframe just so I can see what's going on in there. It has a slightly different midline. I can see if I can fix that. But my computer is struggling with all this geometry. Let's trim in the sketch. We trim that, and we'll trim that. And then I wonder if I can grab this and kind of move it over. So let those line up very closely. Okay, that's good. Okay, finish sketch. Oh, I didn't want to finish the sketch yet. I gotta mirror it. Okay, so back into Sketch 9, we're almost there. I'm going to select all the geometry from Sketch 9, only it doesn't include this stuff that was from a previous sketch. And I'm going to use the mirror function, and so I've got everything selected already. Needs a mirror line, which is that line, and then if you press apply, then you get it all. Now we're finished. And the last extrusion is going to be both of those shapes, and I want it to be symmetrical, and 8.7 is going to be way too much. Let's have a look. It's going to look weird. Yeah, so just a couple of millimeters really. Let's try 3 and maybe even 2. Okay, let's see what that looks like. And I've got to go back from wireframe now to realistic. Yeah, and that looks great. I've got a nice set of chess pieces here. There's a whole bunch of different solids. I could actually make them a nicer color than this gray. I like the white. That looks quite nice. There you go. So these can now be printed as a group, or you can actually isolate them because you're going to need more pawns than just a couple, right? So if you printed that twice in 2 colors, yeah, you're going to need a different number of all the pieces. So what you can do is hide all the rest of them, and then when you go to the file print and 3D print preview, you can just print the one object if you want. Double check your options to make sure it's on high resolution and millimeter for me anyway, so that's okay. And then I can press this little button, and then I could call it a pawn, and I can save that, and it's ready as an STL file for 3D printing. So there it is. Now I could go on and do the Rook by saying hide all the rest, and then I could do the Rook, or you could do the whole set. All right, that's it.